taking some known foot strengthening exercises, we're going to add the reactive variability of the Core-Tex. For example, using the first med head and first toe to keep contact with Core-Tex as we create this variability with the band. You've got everything else going on in different vectors created by the platform that it's supported on. Therefore, the stimulation is much different, and we also get the user engaged a little bit more with the interaction with the platform. Doing our calf raises with the ball here, the advantage of what we're doing here with Core-Tex is we get a little bit of pre-stretch as we drop down, but also the transfer of weight to the metatarsal heads and to the toes at the end shows us how we can move the platform backwards. One of the unique characteristics of this also, if we're asymmetrical in the pressure that we apply with one foot over the other or one metatarsal head transfer weight to that inner border of the foot and the first ray, is that the Core-Tex will actually reflect that by rotating. So it kind of tells us a little bit more about actually what's going on here. And in this view, you get to see how we can take advantage of a little bit of extra plantar and dorsiflexion and finishing that motion really through the toes at the very end. And keeping a nice rhythmical motion with the Core-Tex, the user is holding the handrail, so they've got that external stability at the same time, adds a little bit more advantage. Now, what's really unique about Core-Tex here is what we can do with the transverse plane. Now, showing you in real time here, we're keeping the knee still, and then as we slow it down, there's going to be a lot of momentum that has to be controlled both at the rear foot and the midfoot in both inversion and eversion as we go through that motion. So centered in the Core-Tex, as we're turning it rapidly back and forth, and that change of direction really introduces a force into the foot that you may not typically get, and certainly less stress on the knee with this motion when we get to do it with Core-Tex. You'll see as we freeze the camera here in a minute that you can get a chance to see what's happening with a varus heel here as the Achilles starts to roll out a little bit, and then as we transfer back in the opposite direction, the momentum is going to take us into more of a valgus rear foot, but that also will now need to be controlled as we immediately reverse directions back the other way. Now, one of our kind of bilateral foot strengthening exercises here is where the midfoot is locked and we're in plantar flexion, and we take all the different movements that Core-Tex is capable of providing and stimulating that through the foot first and then into the rest of the lower extremity, using the rotational aspect, the tilt, slide, and translation all at the same time. And this last one is really integrated because we use this both for improving medial hip rotation, but with that weight, that load on the outside of the Core-Tex, the only way we can keep Core-Tex from unleveling is really using the medial aspect, downward pressure of the medial aspect of the foot to keep contact, and therefore keeping Core-Tex level and not allowing it to tilt in the direction of the weight. The progression here is doing it single leg once the foot is removed from the assisted yoga block that was on the ground. So all these exercises, every rep, a little bit of additional variability, the responsiveness, the firmness of the Core-Tex adds those benefits.